So in this video, I actually want to get a bit more personal with you guys and kind of tell you a bit of how having kids has changed things for me. And I promise that this actually has something to do with minimalism. So I'll kind of include why in a little bit, but I want to tell you a bit about my story of after having kids and how that was all for me. So after I had my daughter, those first 3 postpartum months were really difficult. I mean, it's like from like never having a kid to now having a child of your own, and you feel very responsible, or I felt very responsible, but I didn't know like what to do. I didn't know if to bounce her. I didn't know why she was crying, and it was this whole like fog of like having a newborn that the days pass by and you're like, I made it through another day. But after those first 3 months, I was home with her, and things got a lot easier. She started sleeping at night, not through the night, but at least at night. And she started taking her naps, and we got more into a routine, a schedule. It was a little bit easier for me to go out with her and walks and all that stuff. So after 3 months, I really got the hang of things. Thankfully, I was able to stay with her at home, and that made things a lot easier. And yeah, so it just, after that, I kind of continued through like my own motherhood journey, but it really wasn't that bad. When I got pregnant with my son, my daughter was about 18 months, and that pregnancy was actually really difficult. I had a lot of different complications. I was in and out of the hospital a few times. We really didn't know if he was gonna make it or not. And so throughout that whole pregnancy, it was a bit of a change, but at least, like everything was okay. And I was trying to figure out how to, deal with my pregnancy and having a toddler. But then after he was born, everything was great. I had my mom stay with me for a few weeks, and then my in-laws came and they stayed with me for a few weeks, and they were a lot of help. My mom helped a lot with my daughter. My in-laws helped a lot with my daughter. And then after they left, I actually had a postpartum doula come to help me transition from not having any help, because all of my family was in Florida while I was living in New York, and I knew I really wanted someone that could kind of help me transition to like not having family, and then into like my baby's life. So those first 3 months with my son, because I had a lot of help and because I kind of knew what to expect, were actually really wonderful. That whole newborn stage with my second was actually so peaceful. I was breastfeeding, I was feeding, I was, my daughter was with me. There were people taking care of her. So it was actually a really nice time and a wonderful experience after having my son and after having such a difficult pregnancy. But then after he turned 3 months and I was kind of getting used to the hang of things, my husband and I decided that we were going to move back to Florida, and I was going to be back with family, so it was going to be great. We were going to get a lot more help. But actually that move was really difficult for me. For a few months, we had to stay with my parents, so all of our stuff were kind of in limbo. We didn't know where we were gonna go. Then we finally found an apartment, and then we moved to an apartment, and all of this, I was like 3 months after just having a baby while I was taking care of my toddler. And even though like we moved into our house and it was a bit more calm after all the craziness, plus this was like all during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and like the new year, so it just felt like there was a ton of family. We were back, there were so many things happening, and then just trying to get back to whatever normal that was really hard. And after my son turned 3 months, and after I was back in Florida, I was on my own. I was working full time from home, and it was really hard. Like it wasn't like with my daughter that after those 3 months I was just able to stay with her and do nothing, and not to do nothing, but like just be a parent. This time I had a toddler, I had a newborn baby, and I had a full-time job. I just so you know, I work as a photographer and videographer for different companies, and so I was doing that, and I was breastfeeding and doing all these things, and I just felt like it was a lot, and it took me a long time to get the hang of things, to get the hang of having 2 kids while I was working. And I remember those first months when I had to go on shoots because I had to, and my baby wasn't taking a bottle yet. I literally had to like put on a baby wearing wrap or whatever I had and put him on me and have my camera and shoot and do all these projects with him on me. And he was not the easiest of babies. Like, it wasn't like he was like, oh yeah, he's just there and I'm just taking pictures. He would cry and I would have to feed him and I would have to stop and all these things that I realized that, oh my gosh, like this is so intense. I don't know how to work and have a baby at the same time. And at the time, we didn't have any childcare. We were kind of relying on family to take my daughter for some days and then, try to see if my son would take a bottle, and all these things that I had to figure out. And it was I had a really hard time transitioning from having just one child to 2 kids. It was really overwhelming because every single time that I had to get out, it wasn't just like, oh, get myself ready, get my child ready. It was like, get myself ready, get the diaper bag, get her, my daughter's snacks and the things and all these things that I was like, it felt so overwhelming for just like going out to the park and then wrapping up all these things to then get back in the car to come back home. I really was having a hard time. And I have to tell you that this lasted for almost a year and a half. Like, it wasn't until my son is now getting closer to 2 years old that I'm starting to feel like I got the hang of things. I got the hang of working and having kids. Plus, like, I have someone that helps me with the kids. And now I feel like I'm finally, like, getting things together, but it really took almost 2 years for me to get to that place. So the reason I wanted to share with this story with you guys was because the only thing that I think kept me sane throughout this whole thing was the fact that my house felt peaceful. And I think that to minimalism, like the fact that there were so many things going on. There was so much noise in my house now. There was so many schedules that I had to like figure out. There were so many things that I had to do that the last thing that I wanted was a cluttered house that was just gonna like drive me insane. And so thankfully, I had already started this process of minimalism, and when my son came into the picture, I had already started with like having a lot less. But I remember like coming home one day and like just having such a hard day, and my baby was crying and my toddler was crying and I was crying. It was a really intense moment, and they finally went to bed, and I just went into my living room and I sat down and I was like, thank God I don't have a mess that I have to pick up, because I would go crazy. It's so much. Like, I feel like as moms, we are so overwhelmed with noise, with being touched all the time, especially by little ones who just wants to be close to us, by the demands that we have in our work or our chores at home. And I was like, I'm so thankful that I have a home that I don't feel like I'm drowning in, as well as all these things that I do feel like I'm drowning in. And I'm not saying that I found happiness in this time, because that was something that I learned, like a really big lesson that I learned with minimalism. And it was the fact that having all of these things isn't going to give you happiness, but taking it all away isn't going to give you any happiness either. Like, things, the whole point that I understood was that things don't bring you happiness. They make things easier. They can help with the different things that we need, but happiness is not the thing. And that's when I realized, like, I need to let go of things because this doesn't bring me happiness. But as well as, like, when I got rid of everything, I was like, well, this doesn't bring me happiness either. What it does bring me is just a peace of mind that is not another thing that I have to add to the list of thousands of things that I already have in my head that I have to do. Cleaning up at night this humongous mess of toys wasn't something that I wanted to add to my list and that I needed to add to my list and that was on my list at all. And I remember just sitting down at the end of the day, and I have to be honest with you guys, like, I still had toys that I had to pick up. You know, like, my kids still have things. It's not like, oh, they don't play with anything, my house is empty. There were things, but it was manageable. It was something that I was like, this is not something that feels completely out of my hands. I can do this. I'm going to take 10 minutes, put everything back, and then I have my space again, and I am okay. And so I just wanted to share that with you, first of all, because I do feel like if you see all of my other videos, I don't want you to think that minimalism made my life perfect and I didn't have any struggles and my motherhood journey was all wonderful and rainbows and everything was great. It wasn't. Like, it still was really hard. Motherhood has been really difficult for me. But thankfully, I think that living a life with having less has actually really helped me in those times where I felt like everything else was completely out of control, and it was just that one thing that I was like, I don't have to worry about it. And I'm glad that I'm doing this because it does give me a sense of peace to come into my house and know that, like, it's a wonderful, relaxing space where I just know that I can feel at home. And so, I don't know, I encourage you to, like, I don't want to push anyone into, like, getting rid of everything. But I think that if you can make things easier for yourself, whether it be your schedule, because I do have a video that I talked about simplifying their schedule, my kids' schedule, because we were adding on too many things, and I realized that was another thing that I needed to simplify. So whether it be your schedule, whether it be your home, whether it be your kids' toys, or anything that's just creating too much stress, like, I just want to encourage you that, like, you don't have to live with this burden. Like, if there's something in your life that is overwhelming you, try to figure out what that is and simplify things. See if there's anything that you can reduce the amount of activities, toys, things that you own that is bringing you so much stress, and find ways to simplify it so that you can get to a point where things will get a little bit easier and things will calm down, and all of a sudden things are not so overwhelming for you. So I just wanted to share my story. I don't know if you found this helpful or not, but I hope that this is helping someone out there, and I'm really thankful that I get to share my story with you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you want to hear from me or what you want to see from my videos. I'm always open to suggestions of things that you would like to watch. So thank you guys for staying with me. Bye.